Hey guys, in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to create this calculator app in React JS. Before we get started, I'm going to draw each component that we're going to create inside of the application. This component right here is going to be our input box where we can type a number and then it's going to appear in the screen right here. Then next component is going to be a button that can either hold a digit, a symbol, or a equal sign. And then the last component that we need to create is going to be this clear button. All of these components are placed within this calculator object that we're going to create. Now that you know what the plan is, let's get started in the tutorial. Okay, so first thing that you want to do is open up a terminal and navigate to your desktop. And here we're going to run npx create react app, and we're going to call this calculator. Okay, now that everything is installed inside of this calculator folder, we can see the Intuit and start up our server. Okay, so we're going to have the browser on the left side. On the right side, we're going to have VS Code open. So let's open up another terminal, and same directory, the calculator one, we're going to do code period. And now we have code editor on the right, and on the left we have the React application. Go into the source folder and change up what's inside of app.js. So everything inside of this return function we're going to delete and just keep the div. So right now we can just replace this with an h1 tag to make sure that everything is working. Save. Okay, so we have our heading, and we're going to delete this logo as well. We don't need that. There's actually several files that we do not need, but to keep this video nice and short, I'm just going to do the bare minimum, and if you would like to, you can clean up all the files that are not in use. Now change this from function to const equals app. No, we'll say const app equals this arrow function. Let's open up app.css and change a couple of things here. So for now we can delete everything up to this point, and we'll change the background color of our app to black. And the color for all the text is going to be white. For the class app, display flex, justify content center, align items center. So now everything is nice and centered on the screen. Okay, so inside of this div, we need to create another div, which we're going to call our calculator wrapper. So we can just call this calc wrapper. And here for now we're just going to do the same thing, just put an h1 tag, make sure it's working. So now we need to take this class name calc wrapper and apply some CSS to it. We're going to set the background color to white, width is going to be 400 pixels, and border radius is going to be 16 pixels. So now we have something like this. Now that we have all the divs where we're going to place our components, let's create the components folder inside of source. So right click, new folder, components. And the first component that we're going to create is going to be the button.js, and we'll also have button.css. Okay, so inside a button, first thing that we're going to do is import our button.css. We're going to create our button object now, so it's going to be const button and here we're going to return a div. So for now, let's start out with the basics with a hard-coded value, and then we're going to expand and pass in some props to this button. So let's go to app.js, and instead of putting the heading here, let's put in our button. So first we need to import that. We're going to do import button from components button, and here we can call it by saying button and close it off. Oh, and at the end here we need to do export default button. So let's go back to app CSS. We're not going to use this color actually. So as you can see, the first button has the word test in it. So now let's apply some styling to this button. We're going to put a class name, and here we're going to say button wrapper. And now copy this and use it inside of button.css. So we're going to have a height of 4 em. Display is going to be flex. Justify content center. Align items center. Font size is going to be 24 pixels. Background color is going to be flex 1. So we can actually get the exact colors from this app here. Let's look that up. Digital color meter. You can copy this value so it's 90 90 90. So background color will actually put hashtag 5A 5A 5A. Okay, so here's our button. Now let's duplicate this and see what it looks like. So we'll duplicate it several times. And as you can see, we have several buttons, but all these buttons need to be placed into rows. So next thing that we need to do is create another div called class name equals row. And we can put all of these buttons inside of the row. So now go to app.css, and here we're going to do .row, and we'll say display flex. So now we can put in 4 buttons for each row, and we're going to duplicate this as well so we can get the overview of what the application is going to look like. So here we have all these buttons, and now we're going to pass in some data to all of those. Ideally, what we want to do is to be able to pass in any symbol name to this button, and it's going to get displayed. So let's go to button.js, and here for props we're going to do curly braces, and first one we're going to have is called symbol, and whatever the symbol is we're going to put it inside of this div. So do curly braces and symbol. So now all of these buttons are expecting a symbol property. 8, 9, division sign, and then the last row is going to be 0, period, equal sign, and minus sign. So now we just created the button component and we passed in a symbol name. Okay, next component that we need to create is going to be the input box, which is going to go above the first row right here. So now let's go into components, and we're going to create another one called input.js as well as input.css. So input.js, we're going to import the styling for that, input.css, and we're going to have our object right here. And we're just going to return a simple div that will say input. Export default input. Now let's call this inside of app.js. So we can copy this one and just change this to input, and this also to input. So now we can call our input right here. And there's where our input's going to go. And this div is going to have a class name of input wrapper, and inside of here I have two other divs. The first one is going to be class name equals result, and another one called class name equals text. This first one, result, is going to be an h1 tag. We'll just say result for now. And this text one is going to be h3 text. We're going to be able to type in some inputs that's going to go into text, and as soon as we press equals, it's going to appear in the results h1 tag. So now let's apply some styling to input.css. So input wrapper, copy this, and we're going to do height 10 em, display flex, justify content, this will be flex end, align items, flex end, flex direction is going to be column, and also we'll throw in a padding of 16 pixels. Alright, next we'll have results, which is going to have a flex of 1, and our text, which is going to have a flex of 1 as well. Now we'll have a font size. The first one up top is going to be 36 pixels. Actually, that's too big. Let's try like something like 24. So this one is going to have 24, and the bottom one will have, let's say, 18. So that's it for styling for input. Now let's go back here. Alright, so this is looking good for now for hard-coded values. Now let's go back to app.js, and all the way at the bottom, after this last row, we're going to have another button, which is going to be our clear button right here. Symbol is going to be clear. We're also going to pass in another prop to each button where we can change the background color. So let's go up here, and after symbol we'll have another one called color. And right here inside of this div, we can add a style to brackets right there, and we'll say background color is going to be equal to color. So if no color gets passed in, it's just going to be the regular gray color that you see there, but if we pass one in, it's going to change. So example, I could pass in color is equal to red, and that should change that one right there. So let's go back to our calculator application and get this exact color. Copy this color and paste that in right there. So we'll actually have a property up top called button color, and we'll set it to this. And for color, we'll just pass in button color. So we can copy this and put it wherever we want to change the colors. And this last clear button is going to have a different one. Yeah, we'll just keep it as red for now, but if you want, you can find a appropriate color and put it in right there. Let's make one more modification to button.css. So let's see what this looks like. If you want to keep it how it was, like so, you can feel free to do this and just add in your own borders. But to just make things more clear, we're going to use this right here. Now back in app.js, we're going to go up to the top and import use state hook from React. Now we'll create our text use state property. So we'll do const text and this will be the setter function. So set text equals use state, and initially it's going to be an empty string. And you can also copy this and do the same for results. Just say set result. Now inside of inputs right here, we're going to pass in our text and result into it as a property. So go back to app.js, and here we're going to go into our props and get text and results. That's going to be right here. This is going to be result, and this will be our text. So now inside of input, we need to say text is equal to our text, and result is equal to our result. Now we're getting an empty string right now because that's where we're setting it up here. So I could say something like hi and bye. So what we're going to be able to do is anytime you click on these buttons, we're going to create another function that will set the result and set the text. So let's put that back up to empty strings. We're going to now create a function called add to text, which is going to take in a value. We'll take in everything that's inside of text, and we'll take text and value plus an empty space. So this will take everything inside of the text property right now, get everything previous, and then append a value that we pass in, followed by an empty white space. Now that we have this function, we're going to use it inside of app.js. Here we're going to have another property called handle click, and we're going to do that inside of this div. So on click is equal to this function that's going to call handle click with the current symbol. So now let's go to app.js and test this out on the number 7. So we'll say handle click is going to be equal to our add to text function. So I'm going to press 7, and we should see 7 inside of the text property. But if I do it on 8, nothing works because we haven't created our handle click function. So now we can copy all this and put it in all the other numbers. But now for the equal sign, we're going to have a custom function for the equal sign, which is going to be basically setting the result. So now let's test this out before moving on. We'll have 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 0, period. And let's try 7 divided by handle click. Also put it for the operators, like so. So we'll have something like 7 divided by 9, and equal sign's not working yet. Now let's create one more function for clear. It's going to be called clear text or reset input. It's not going to take anything in, and what we're going to do is just set text to empty and set result to empty. So when I press this, handle click is going to be equal to reset input. So let's try that out. We'll have 77 clear. Yep, everything's working for the clear function. The last thing that we need to do is calculate the result of all of this and then display it inside of a result. We will be using something called math.evaluate, where we can pass in a string and get a result. So download, we're going to be doing this using npm. So go back to your terminal. In that same folder, we're going to say npm install math.js. Alright, so now that we have it, let's go up to the top and we'll say import evaluate from math.js. So now we'll have a function called calculate result, which will not take anything in, and it's going to be calling, we're going to say const input is equal to our text.join. So we get everything. This will remove all commas inside of our text string. We're going to call set result with evaluate dot with evaluate input. Where we'll just say import everything as math from there. So we'll do math.evaluate. So now when we press the equal sign, we're going to have handle click is going to be called calculate result. So let's try this out and see if it's working. We'll have 1 plus 1 equal to 2. And then we press clear. And we could do like 8 divided by 4 equal to 2. Okay, so that's all for this tutorial. We learned the basics of React JS and how to create this wonderful calculator application. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Like, subscribe, and I'll be posting more videos in the future. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.